An 8-page court document claims a little boy was taken from his own neighborhood and that the people inside a nearby house knew it. Knew it so well, investigators say, that a live scent canine went house to house and only hit on one front door. And then, years later, the prosecutor publicly says, "We're moving forward with charges anyway, even without recovering the child's remains." So tonight, I'm going to do something that feels wrong to say out loud. I'm going to walk you through how a kid can vanish between go back home and call 911, and how the paper trail after that starts to look like a trap closing. This is the case of Michael Joseph Vaugan, nicknamed Monkey, who disappeared from Fruitland, Ohio. And I know, this case didn't explode everywhere the way some do, but it has something a lot of cases don't: public court filings, an unsealed probable cause affidavit, and a prosecutor statement that basically dares a jury to convict without one thing people think you need in a murder case. And I'm going to keep it grounded. No internet rumors. When I say something happened, it's either coming from a court document, a prosecutor statement, or reporting that's quoting these documents. Here's the part that makes my skin crawl, because it's so normal. According to the probable cause affidavit, on July 27, 2021, neighbors saw a 5-year-old boy in the early evening, roughly between 6:15 and 6:30 p.m., in the area around his home. They described him knocking on doors, trying to find someone to play with, and multiple neighbors said they told him to go back home. That's the last normal version of this story. The affidavit says that around 6:45 to 6:50 p.m., Michael's father noticed his son was missing. He searched the house and property, then called 911 at about 7:21 p.m. Think about that gap. A kid is alive, moving, asking to play, and then within less than an hour, it's a 911 call. Police responded. The search became massive. Local agencies, the FBI, volunteers. The affidavit describes weeks of searching that turned into years. And investigators, according to the affidavit, eventually cleared Michael's immediate family and the surrounding neighbors along that street as having no knowledge of his whereabouts. But cleared doesn't mean comfort, because the next details aren't comforting at all. A few days after the disappearance, August 2nd and 3rd, per the affidavit, live scent canine teams searched the surrounding area, and one of those dogs showed interest at a particular intersection, then went straight to a fence and the front door of a specific residence, the home of Stacy and Sarah Wandra. And the affidavit claims another canine, out of something like 300 homes in Fruitland, only showed interest in that one house. Now, dogs are not verdicts. Dogs don't testify. But when you combine that with everything else, it becomes one of those details you can't unhear. The affidavit describes another track, a scent trail leading into thorny bushes off a bluff area where a discarded child's stroller was located deep in the brush. Then there's the tricycle. According to the affidavit, on August 5th, a pink Big Flyer tricycle was located behind a neighborhood sign, after searchers had been in that area the day before and it wasn't there. A neighbor later claimed he'd found it, brought it home, and then left it behind the sign for kids. But another witness reportedly told police she'd seen a tricycle like that inside the Wandras' garage months earlier during a yard sale. And another neighbor said she saw Michael riding a big-wheel tricycle near the area around the time he went missing, with surveillance timestamps tied to her coming and going. And then the affidavit says something that should be impossible if this was just a kid wandering off. Investigators gathered neighborhood camera footage, and Michael is never seen on the surveillance that was obtained. So now we're at the Wandras' residence, because it comes up again and again. The affidavit describes police contacting the residence on August 1st. At that time, investigators identified 4 people in the household: Stacy Wandra, Sarah Wandra, and 2 sublets, Brandon Shirtliff and Adrian Lucien. And during that initial search contact, officers allegedly found Adrian Lucien hiding in a closet. That detail doesn't prove murder, but it's not normal behavior. The affidavit also describes investigators later identifying an adult male walking in the area on surveillance that evening. Brandon Shirtliff was identified in 2022 as that person, and he told detectives he was searching for Michael. Okay, maybe. But then the timeline tightens. According to the affidavit, Sarah and Stacy denied being home around the time Michael disappeared, and said they left the residence around 5 p.m. to tow a vehicle to Kuna. But the affidavit says cell tower data and surveillance indicated all 4 household members were in the area of the neighborhood during the window when Michael vanished. The affidavit lays out vehicle sightings. A blue Toyota Corolla coming in and out of the neighborhood in the late afternoon and early evening. A maroon GMC pickup leaving around 7:08 p.m., with the affidavit describing who investigators believe was in that vehicle. And then the pickup returning late, around 11:22 p.m., towing another vehicle. And there's a strange little detail. The affidavit mentions a selfie taken inside the residence around 7:26 p.m. During the same time frame, the 911 call had already gone out and the neighborhood was in panic mode. Here's where the story stops being about vehicles and timestamps and turns into something human and unnerving. The affidavit alleges that Sarah Wandra's behavior changed drastically after the disappearance. It describes her standing near a highway by a Love's gas station with signs telling people to repent and that the end of time was near. It also describes a major shift in her social media. Hundreds of posts, religious testimony, statements about breaking commandments, with a missing person flyer visible in the background of at least some videos. Again, posting religious content isn't a crime, but investigators are documenting this as part of a broader pattern they consider significant. Fast forward. In January 2025, reporting described a leaked internet video involving Stacy Wandra, footage that police said became public after a records request mix-up. In that reporting, the Fruitland police chief emphasized they weren't responsible for the release, and that they'd already submitted their case along with probable cause affidavit to the prosecutor earlier. The key thing here isn't the internet drama. The key thing is, by early 2025, police are publicly signaling they believe they have enough to prosecute, but prosecution timing isn't in their control. Back up for a second, because the investigation hit a major public moment in late 2022. The affidavit describes a search warrant executed at the Wandra residence in November 2022, with Stacy, while incarcerated, directing detectives by video call to a location in the backyard, where he claimed evidence would be found. The affidavit says multiple certified cadaver canines were deployed, and that all alerted in the backyard, around the same approximate area. Investigators noted disturbed soil or areas that looked filled or resodded. And then, no human remains were located in that search. Nothing you can point to and say that's the end of the mystery. And that's one of the worst outcomes psychologically, because now you've got a place that looks like an answer, without the answer. And now we get to the heaviest part, and I'm going to be careful. The probable cause affidavit includes allegations that Stacy Wandra confessed that the 4 household members were involved in Michael's abduction and killing, and in concealing evidence. And separate reporting summarizing the affidavit describes Stacy allegedly telling investigators a motive that sounds unreal: plans to sell the child, and a sequence involving duct tape, a duffel bag, a drive to Kuna, and later efforts to conceal what happened. But remember, at this stage, this is an accusation laid out in a probable cause filing, not a conviction, and not proof beyond reasonable doubt. And here's what makes it even darker. The prosecutor later put out a statement saying they were moving forward with charges in connection with the disappearance and murder, despite not locating Michael's remains, because delays risk further harm to loved ones, and they believe they know the individuals involved. That is an aggressive posture. It's the system saying we're not waiting for a body to do the next step. Now this is what gets me. There are 2 realities that exist at the same time. Reality 1. A child is seen alive, knocking on doors, being told to go home. Then he's gone. A massive search finds no trace of him on neighborhood surveillance. And dogs track scent in ways investigators found meaningful. Reality 2. Years pass. The public hears pieces, searches, tips, dig sites, hearings. Yet the most basic thing a family wants has not happened: bringing him home. And then the state says, we're going to court anyway. The sting in this story isn't a jump scare. It's a blank space. Because when a prosecutor says they'll pursue justice with or without recovery, it means one thing very clearly. They believe they can prove what happened without ever showing the jury where Michael is. And if they can do that, If a case can reach that stage, then the most haunting possibility is also the simplest. For years, the answer may have been sitting inside a normal-looking house, on a normal-looking street, while everyone else in the neighborhood kept living their normal lives. And somewhere out there, there is still one piece of this story that hasn't surfaced in public records. Not yet. And that is where Michael is. If you enjoyed this content, please be sure to leave a like or subscribe. It means a lot, and it lets us know that what we're doing is working. Alright, we'll see you in the next one.